about your recovery. If you want to stay sober, my name is Vinny. I'm an alcoholic and an addict.
And I'm Sam. I'm an alcoholic and an addict.
And we got a special guest today. His name is Daniel. We're not going to give his last name unless he wants to. But he flew in from Georgia to hang out with us for a few hours. We are live in Gladwin, Pennsylvania, by the way. We're a traveling podcast. And I want to introduce Daniel, my man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hey, everybody. My name is Daniel Krasner. My sobriety date is July 6, 2005.
Nice.
I'm glad. I don't think I've ever been in this neighborhood of Pennsylvania before, so
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah, glad to be here in the chilly weather. But no, really appreciate you guys having me and the opportunity to share some experience, strength, and hope, and my overall message with your audience. So thank you.
Thanks for coming, bro.
Yeah. So just to talk a little bit about my history, born in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, I claim Atlanta. I was born in Marietta, but
Yeah.
you know, we claim Atlanta.
You claim
Absolutely.
hot Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. ITP in
Yeah.
the perimeter.
Nice.
Um,
Falcons fan?
You know, when they're doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when they're doing well.
I know
Absolutely.
Matt Ryan went to the... I know Matt Ryan's from here.
Is he?
Yeah.
So you're a fan.
I like Matt Ryan. I knew his younger brother.
Yeah, we're Eagles guys. Don't, you
I'm
know.
not a fan. Yeah.
You just like him.
But
When he,
like-
went
yeah,
when he
Matt
played
Ryan
for
was
Penn
cool.
Charter, the high school, I was a fan.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is that where you went? Penn Charter?
Yeah, he went to Penn Charter.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is, but
It's a high school. It's a charter high school.
It's a private school.
Yeah, it's a private school.
Great school.
yeah, well, so yeah, I'm a fan when they're doing well.
Nice.
But ultimately, I'm a hockey fan, and,
Oh,
and
yeah,
we don't have a
my
hockey
man.
team. So I like the Winnipeg Jets because they were our hockey team.
And then they moved.
Oh,
As
yeah.
they will. No Braves?
What
I
were
like
you,
the Braves.
What were you guys? The Flames, right?
Well, we were
Well,
the
you-
Flames before we sold
That's what-
that team to Canada.
that's what I mean,
And then we
right,
sold
right.
another team, the Thrashers, to
The
Canada.
Thrashers. That's right.
Yeah.
Been a real...
You just can't get the crowd down there.
Yeah,
I
there was
guess.
some like shirt I saw one time that said Atlanta making hockey teams for Canada since 1979. Yeah.
But
any-
that's the root of his alcoholism.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
And there's where the addiction started.
So just to jump in, come from what I thought growing up as a fairly normal family: mom, dad, two sisters, brother, youngest of four. Come from a middle class family. My parents were they both worked. They traveled a lot for work. They both ran their own businesses, and I think. One of my memories as a child was being at home a lot with my sister that was closest to me in age, but also we were left a lot with people to watch us while our parents traveled for work. It was, it was normal. My sister, I would say growing up, Mandy was like my role model, really idolized her, wanted to be like her, wanted to, be connected with her and her friends. She was 5 years older than me. And we were super close growing up. And then my oldest brother and oldest sister were from my dad's previous marriage. Him and my mom have been married for almost 50 years at this point. So, they were a little older, 13 and 15 years. They didn't necessarily live in the house with us all the time. So it was me, my sister, my mom, and my dad for the most part. Some of my, I would say, I always felt... even like going into school and in classes and around people, like I felt two things. One, that people were smarter than me, and that I didn't really fit in unless I was funny or was attention seeking or something along those lines. And two, I also felt like there was this like big secret in life that people knew. And once I figured it out, I'd feel really good and okay and like popular. Because I remember, growing up, like there was these like popularity groups in elementary school and in middle school. And like, I always felt like I was on the outside of that.
Was it almost like there was a big inside joke about you?
Yeah, maybe.
You thought there was.
I
yeah.
thought,
He thought, he thought there was.
So yeah, I guess that means even at 5 years old and 6 years old, I was thinking about me. So started quite early.
Yeah.
But as growing up, like I said, it was fairly normal. Played sports, played ice hockey, did all the the normal things you would do growing up. My parents were the type of parents that would volunteer to go on school field trips and those sort of things. So I don't think there was like anything that stood out that was like, okay, well, this guy's going to really turn his life into like, a shit show full of drugs and alcohol at that point. So, fast forward a couple years and, let's just say like I'm in third, fourth grade. I'll never forget this moment where my sister gets back into my parents' car. She was in seventh grade and she had tried out for like some cheerleading tryout, and she was always very, very, very skinny, maybe 100 pounds short. And she got into the car and said, "I can't do this. I'm fat. People say I'm fat. I don't want to be in cheerleading." And it like started this. I mean, it just started this cycle in my family where all of a sudden this like disordered eating thought like lived in my household, where my sister always thought,
Always centered around her.
a lot of attention was because it started creating a lot of problems.
Well, did she have disordered eating?
She had disordered eating. She was bulimic.
Okay, she had an eating disorder, yeah.
But she didn't have an eating disorder until then. Like until somebody said to her, like, "Hey, you're fat."
I feel like it's appropriate for it to start around that age too, right?
Yeah, and it was bad. And so I remember as a kid, like my parents, I mean, for a lack of better terms, just spent time trying to fix her.
Yeah.
So, I remember, weeknights, like sitting in the waiting area of like therapist offices, waiting for my parents to get out of groups with her or get out of sessions with her. And then I remember as a kid, and like it became a little bit more severe, where as it progressed, the years progressed, so did her eating disorder. And I still idolized her and didn't really understand, but my mom would have to essentially like be in the shower with her while she was showering because she'd make herself throw up in the shower. And I'd ask my mom, like, "Hey, why are you in the shower? Like, why are you in the bathroom with Mandy?" And she'd say, she would lie to me and she'd be like, "Well, Mandy's sick because Mandy drank coffee and coffee's for adults." And I would be like,
"Oh,"
well,
she wouldn't tell you what was going on.
Yeah, I was like, "Well, that makes sense."
How old was she at the time?
He was like, "I'm never drinking coffee."
Yeah, I'm like, coffee's out.
Yeah.
Like, she was probably like 14. And then she started getting into drugs, partying, going to alternative high schools. And again, like in my mind, like her life was beautiful and she had all these friends around. And it's still like the eating disorder. I didn't really understand the eating disorder stuff.
Or any of like was there like a grand revolt too against the household?
I mean, my parents were really trying. I mean, she was starting to go to treatment. She was doing a lot of things, but it wasn't like she was just so sick. I mean, it wasn't like, and I didn't recognize that.
Well, the reason I asked if there was a grand revolt is like typically with an eating disorder or an addict or something like that, there's a grand revolt, right? You guys are the problem. Leave me alone. But the reason I asked that is because you said that you idolized her. So if there was this grand revolt, maybe that stemmed some sort of revolt within you.
Yeah, I've never thought of it like that. And I never thought about, like, did I intentionally go down this road? And I also had this, like, we talk about the God consciousness in recovery. And, like, I can remember having that God consciousness pre-use. Like, I remember having these, like, when I first got sober and people would explain to me these like kind of these secondary thoughts that I might have, like questioning a decision, like that's your God consciousness coming in.
Yeah.
And I remember having that in my adolescence and then when I started using. So
The voice. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
of course.
You're kind of fucking up. Like, you should get honest about this. You should tell somebody.
Or even like at a young age, we're talking about this this inside joke with other people. Like that's the voice, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was, I had some of that. And then, I would say as we fast forward, my parents spent a lot of time trying to help my sister. And I don't want to say like there wasn't focus on me because I don't necessarily feel that. But I feel like I kind of, my dad purchased a second home in the mountains. And so we would do that every single weekend almost and go to the mountain house. And like, as I started getting older, like I didn't want to do that every weekend. Like I didn't want to go to the mountains with my dad. I wasn't a little kid anymore. And so I naturally started wanting to hang out with friends more.
Yeah, of course.
So,
which is like par for the course for any teenager.
Yeah. And so I grew up in a Jewish household. I don't know if I've mentioned that to y'all.
Not yet.
Yeah, I grew up in a Jewish household. And so a lot of the Jewish holidays, there's alcohol around. And some of them you're
Manischewitz.
Yeah, exactly. Manischewitz.
Yeah.
And so I started drinking at a fairly, or trying alcohol at a fairly young age. I remember getting drunk at one of the Jewish holidays and laying in the back of my parents' car singing "I Got the Whole Wide World in My Hand."
Do you remember how old you were?
I was probably like 8 or 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's like pretty typical, I'd say,
that's
for
like,
a young Jewish man to have too much Manischewitz at like breakfast or something.
That's exactly
like that.
what it was.
That's exactly what it was, dude.
It might have been
And
Passover.
Just like sweet red wine all in his teeth.
Yeah.
Cream
He's
cheese.
thinking it might have been Passover.
Oh, okay.
It was one of them.
It was one of the two.
Yeah.
Those are the two best ones.
But you know, the thing that I didn't wake up the next morning at 9 years old and 10 years old and be like, oh man, I need more alcohol. I need to feel like that again. Like I didn't think anything. There was no thought the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, as I started growing up and getting into more, you know, of my adolescence, late middle school, high school, I mean, I had friends that just started kind of experimenting with, you know, weed. And so I remember the first time I smelled weed. I was probably 14. I took a whiff and I go, oh my God, this smells just like my sister's car. Like, oh my God.
That's funny.
Yeah. Like, and I felt connected to her. I was like, oh man. And then, me and I had a friend who I had another friend who was scared to carry his weed around at school. So we had my other friend carry it and he would just steal it so that one day we could try it. So we'd take a little each day. So we finally tried it and I'll never forget that first time because I didn't get high.
No.
But I felt so guilty. And it was like, that's what I mean when I'm talking about that God consciousness where
You felt guilty.
I felt guilty because I knew drugs were bad. I knew, you know, what was going on with my sister somewhat. And I also just like knew that's not what I should be doing. And in I wanted to go home and tell my mom like, hey, this is what I just did. And like, but I couldn't. But so I went home and I just sat next to her.
Your mother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And acted like kind of like a weirdo and didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And felt like that was in my mind, like, okay, I did enough. Like I didn't get completely honest, but I got honest enough. Even though I didn't say anything.
It was right. It was all right in your head. Yeah.
Yeah. In my head, I did the right thing.
Yeah.
But I felt super guilty that I had just tried a drug. Not guilty enough to where I wasn't going to try again.
Okay.
So
It was a one-time guilt.
yeah, it was a one-time guilt. So a couple weeks later, I think 8th grade, try weed again, get high.
Yeah. You coughed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I think I learned how to inhale something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
This is doing it for me. And all the other stuff, those thoughts that didn't drive me, but like, is there a secret? Am I good enough?
It's
Like
the alcoholic insecurity, brother.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
it disappeared. And I wanted to do it again. Not the next day, but in my mind, I wanted to do it again. And as we progress, I had the friends that I started with didn't seem to love it as much as I did. They didn't get that initial, like, this is the best thing we've ever done.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, this is the best thing we've ever done.
Well, this is the objective now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should do this more often.
All the time.
And if you guys aren't the people who want to do this, I still like you, but I need to find people who want to do this more often. And I found those people. Not hard to find.
No.
And there's a lot of them. So, and
Especially
then
at that age.
and
yeah.
then you start finding the people who are like, hey, My mom doesn't want us to smoke weed, but if we do, she wants us to do it in the basement.
Yeah.
Good
we all
Lord.
knew that.
And
Yeah,
you're
that
like-
The
family.
permission
You're like,
thing.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, well, now we have a place to smoke weed.
Yeah.
Only if it's under my roof you
Under-
can do it. Like, when did that ever become a thing?
But I will
Dude.
tell you, this lady made the greatest snacks ever.
Yeah.
So,
Sweet.
yeah.
That same mom who says that also supplies snacks.
Yeah,
I think it's like a known fact. They have like the best fridge and pantry.
only family
as
I've
well
ever
as-
met that had a deep fryer at their
Yeah.
house.
Sweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I figured like there'd be more of those in Marietta, Georgia.
No, there might be, but
Yeah.
in my group,
In your circle.
this was the
yeah.
one family that had them.
Yeah.
And they weren't. Let's just say like these people were all aligned with how I kind of thought. Like this is great, but there's probably stuff that's better that we haven't done. And so I would say my weed progression over the first year, just in that first year, went from I'm going to do this once a month to I'm going to do this on the weekends to a couple nights a week to daily use.
Yeah. Before and after school. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All of a sudden, I've got friends picking me up for school.
For sure,
Yeah.
Got to get high before.
That's how it
Yeah.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember taking bong rips in the back of this dude's Infinity.
Yeah.
And then walking into the school. And,
Yeah.
and it became so normal that not being high felt very unnormal
Right.
and very just strange. And I started really liking who I was like on weed. And so when I started ninth grade, and I'll speed up here. When I started ninth grade, I didn't really care about school anymore because that thought of like, I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't think I could compete in the classroom. Like I didn't think any of that stuff actually really mattered either. And I kind of figured out this system where like, if I went to first period every day, it marked me there for the day. So then I could just leave. So, and then my sister wrote me notes for like
The same sister.
the same sister for
Okay.
excuses for like, you know, 5 for each day of the week.
Wow.
And forged my mom's signature. And then I stole one of the teacher's like absentee notebook so that I could submit the right paperwork. And so I remember, you know, in ninth grade, I got called into the principal's office the last week of school, and this was ninth grade, and the teacher started singing "When I Walked Out of the Room" because I got high by Afro Band.
Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was a little mortified and embarrassed. And I walked into his office and my parents were there and I had missed 90 days of school.
Yeah.
Wow.
In ninth grade. And I was passing all my classes and because I was a liar and a cheater by that point. Like I was going to figure out how
You
to,
figured it out.
I was going to figure out how to pass.
Yeah.
And so I would say that summer was tough for my family.
Well, your parents had no knowledge. The shock to them was that you had missed 90 days of school.
They knew I was smoking weed.
Yeah.
And at that point, I don't want to say they didn't care. They cared, but it was like, he's just smoking weed. And we've got this other child with like a lot more issues. And so that summer, it kind of went wild. Started experimenting with other drugs. And by, I'd say like November of my 10th grade year of high school, like a drug addict had been born.
Yeah.
What were you doing other than the weed?
So I'd experimented with a lot of things by the 10th grade. You know, I'd tried ecstasy, lots of weed, cocaine,
What year was this roughly? Just to give me a timeline.
probably like 2000.
2000. Cool.
And I had a good friend whose parents were divorced, and his dad lived in one state, and his mom lived where we lived. And one year he came back from Thanksgiving and had stolen all of these pills from his dad. And we didn't really want the pills, but we didn't really know what they were. They were Oxycontin. I had never really, I had seen some like segment on MTV about like Oxycontin.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what was it called, that show? It was like True Life.
Yeah, True Life.
True
Yeah,
Life,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
addicted to Oxycontin.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
this is hillbilly heroin. We shouldn't use this. And some guy was willing to buy each pill for $1 a milligram. We sold them, bought a bunch of weed. And
That's
then,
expensive back then.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, these must be really good because people are paying a lot for them. And they're like, do you want to try one? And I was like, yeah, I'll try one. I chewed them up, didn't like it, felt really irritable, sold them all. Next day, this girl says, you should try to snort one. And I said, okay, snorted it a little bit, got super sick. Never will forget. I was sitting in the middle of a cul-de-sac, just like, I'm going to die, sweating. And this chick walks up to me and she's like, just do a little more. You'll feel fine. And I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Did a little more, felt fine, and it was on.
A star was born.
Yeah, a star was born. It was on. And I
Now
thought,
you got to keep doing it.
And I thought, oh my God.
Yeah. I'll never forget that first time.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I need to feel this way every day for the rest of my life.
It's like a hug from God. That's what they say.
Then this guy's dad shows up and says, you stole all my pills. And
From the other state.
yeah, from Alabama, just right over. He comes over, he says, you stole all my pills. And we said, shit, we don't have them. Here's the money that we made. We handed him money. He goes back to his truck and hands us his 500 more Oxycontin.
Oh, he was ready to go.
Oh, to sell.
Oh, wow.
He was ready.
Yeah.
He was ready to make money.
And that went on for 3 years.
Yeah, I'm sure it did, brother. I'm sure it did. Yeah.
And so that was early 2000s.
Yeah.
It was really before the opiate epidemic. It was when it was kind of getting started.
That was when it was
What's
kind of rearing
funny,
its
though,
head,
is
though.
that we all know without knowing, because this is young Daniel here, that guy in Alabama, which was such a hub for this, was getting those probably Oxy 80s from a pill mill for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, no, he had a bunch of crooked doctors.
Exactly.
just-
he went to a pill
yeah,
mill. He went to
yeah,
the
yeah.
shops. It was no problem, dude. You know?
And that just went on. And
Yeah.
so I got really hooked. I remember, and I'm not going to go through all the gory details, maybe a little.
Definitely.
But I remember when I started doing Oxycontin, one pill, not to get too graphic, but a 40 milligram pill would last me an entire weekend. And at the end of my addiction, I was doing 1080s a day.
Of course. That's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it progressed very quickly.
It does.
So but I also remember during this time, like people were dropping like flies going to rehab.
Oh, yeah.
Like friends in my group that were probably 2 or 3 years older, they were going to rehab. At this time, I was also very interested in how we were going to make money, and sell these pills.
Right.
Because I liked that. I mean, I
Yeah.
liked the power that I felt from.
course.
Right.
Everybody wanted to know Daniel at that point.
Yeah.
You're no longer on the outside looking in. People are looking for you.
Was the plug always the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
For a long time.
Okay.
So 10th grade, I really just kind of quit school. I got called back into the principal's office. My parents were there. My dad asked me, he says, look, son, just make me a promise. Like, do not skip any more school this week.
They're not aware of the Oxycontin or anything like that.
They're aware that more's going on.
Yeah.
They're aware that I'm wrecking cars.
Okay.
Sleeping in mashed potatoes on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You had some
Falling
consequences.
asleep in the matzo ball soup.
For sure.
You had some consequences going
yeah.
on.
Yeah, there was stuff happening.
Yeah.
Because I was really getting into pills. So I was always on Xanax or Oxys. And,
Yeah, always taking a nap.
didn't remember much.
Yeah.
It was quite emotional.
I'm
And my parents were like, please don't quit. Please don't skip school or anything. So I'm like, all right. I get a call. I'm at school. My buddy says, hey, there's this house. There's a bunch of weed and guns in it. We should go get it.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
said, okay, let's go. I go. There's a bunch of weed. And this is a strange home. I don't know what this guy did.
Strange area. Yeah.
It wasn't a strange area.
Okay.
It was in a suburb. But this guy had a bunch of weed and guns. And we started, stealing it all.
Yeah.
And nobody was there. And then we decided to go back. We go back.
After you took all the weed and guns?
Yeah.
Why would you go back?
To see if there was more.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Like,
That's
we
the
don't-
addicted thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we walk out, the police are there. And I'm the only person who's an adolescent in this group.
Okay.
So everybody else catches felonies
Ooh.
for burglary and possession and selling firearms.
Breaking
What
and
was the
entering.
house? What was it?
We still
To
don't
this
know.
day, you still don't know.
No idea.
Wow.
It was
Okay. And you never dealt with the owner of the weed and guns?
no.
Wow.
He might have been a cop for all you know.
Buddy,
He had,
That's what I'm
he had an
thinking.
ammunition making room in the house. Like, I
That's
don't
what
know
I'm
what
thinking.
this guy did. And I remember the kitchen being full of just Guinness beer bottles, like up to like here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what was going on, but it could have been like just like a trap house in the burbs.
Yeah.
I don't know. So they all get arrested and my rehab circuit starts.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when an adolescent gets jammed up and you go to the courtroom. They're like, we want him to go get better. You know what I mean? First things first. It's a blessing in disguise.
Well-
I've been through something similar. Yeah.
Well, at first, my mom was like, "You're coming to work at my warehouse for the summer," and I was like, "All right." So I did that, and I had a blast because everybody back there got high.
Got high.
Exactly.
And we were racing forklifts, and
Oh my
you know,
God. That's
having a
hilarious.
blast.
You know what's so funny? Not to like interrupt you, but I have a similar. My first big get in trouble moment. My mom found like a bunch of cash and Oxy 80s, and she decided to flush them, and like they were fronted drugs. And her resolution to that was to send me on like an outward bound trip to Costa Rica.
Wait,
you know what I mean?
We're getting there.
Yeah. Okay.
So then my parents decide that I need to go to treatment,
Yeah.
and they send me to the Outward Bound
Yes, dude.
Troubled Teens program.
Okay.
In the Boundary Waters. My mom tells me I'm going on a canoe trip. I say, I don't fucking like the outdoors or
Right.
canoes.
I hate canoes.
Yeah. And I get there and I'm like, two parts to the story. One, I brought a bunch of Xanax because I was like, fuck, it's 30 days. I'll make it go by pretty quick.
Oh, you brought Xanax. Nice.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think we were going to get strip searched. So
Oh, wow.
So I get there. There's a hippie holding a sign, Outward Bound, in Duluth, Minnesota. I get on a bus. They kick us off the bus, and there's like two guys standing there, and they're like, "All right, well, we're your guides for the next 30 days, and we're going to go 300 miles in a canoe, and we're going to strip search you now." And I said, "Oh shit!" And so I ate all the Xanax
At once?
At once, yeah.
Nice.
And then they're like, we have to do a swim lesson, but you have to keep all your clothes on for the swim lesson because if the canoe flips, you would be in all your clothes. So I'm like, all right. So I jump in the water with my glasses on and I lose my glasses. So I wear prescription sunglasses all day for 30 days of treatment.
Wait, buddy. Where's the rest of the story?
What?
You're on 30 Xanax and you're swimming with your clothes on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
You didn't drown? I mean,
No.
you're here.
No,
so, yeah.
I'm resilient.
Yeah, okay.
I was just floating.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I find myself throughout. I've been kicked out of so many places for just floating.
Yeah.
I remember just going into gyms because we had gym memberships and my parents kept kicking me out. And so I just go into LA Fitnesses and just
float,
float in the
baby.
pool, but I didn't have changes of clothes. So I'd just be in my underwear, nodding out with
Oh
a
my
noodle.
God.
And somebody be like, "We're closing. You have to go." And I'd be like, "I don't have a towel."
Daniel, you can't stay here.
I remember even one time I was at a friend's house and I tore apart their comforter and took half of it as a towel.
Of course.
Oh my
And they were like,
God.
did you just cut our comforter in half? I'm like,
Dude, that is
yeah.
such a telltale sign of someone who loves Xanax, of like the weird shit that they do.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it got bad. So I get home I remember in treatment leaving, I argued with my parents that like, I'm still going to smoke weed. And within 30 minutes of getting off an airplane, I was high and it was on again. They started me in another school because they figured where I went was the issue. So I started going to this private school. And I lasted about a month and a half there before I got
Right.
arrested again. And
Are you 18 yet? No.
No,
Yeah.
I think I'm 16.
So you got like you got a adolescent docket at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then I get arrested for they raided my friend's house who's was moving all the Oxycontin from his dad.
Yeah.
He went to jail for 2 years as an adolescent.
Holy
Wow.
And I started working with his dad.
Of course. Yeah.
And so my addiction just kept progressing. Progressing. I was going from school. I was in and out of rehab. And I wasn't taking it seriously. I also kept going to adolescent rehabs. One of my rehabs, this guy asked me how I did Oxycontin. I said, I snorted it. He said, you're doing it the wrong way. You should shoot it. And that's what I learned at that rehab.
Wow.
I learned I should shoot this next time.
A lot of, yeah.
So
How old were you then?
16.
About 16.
So I started using IV, not always, but often, and any drug, not just Oxycontin, anything that I could cook down. So, my addiction just kept progressing and kept progressing, and I kept getting in more trouble and more trouble and more trouble. At this point, I've been to rehab 6 times. I've been to 4 different high schools.
You're still in high school?
Still in high school.
Nice.
16, yeah.
Still
Wow.
getting in a lot of trouble. And then when I was 16, I don't know if I was 16 or 17. I was on probation for the burglary charge, and I started selling weed again and figuring out how to still use when they drug tested me, and oxys back then weren't on standard test and those sort of things. And so it just kind of kept progressing and kept getting worse. And my family life I didn't really have
You were the problem now.
Yeah, I didn't really have a relationship with my family anymore. They were quite disappointed and afraid of me and the people that I associated with. And then, heroin came along, oxys dried up. I had a friend ask me if I would take him to go get some heroin, and was huge in Atlanta. And, he offered to give me $40. I remember, to drive him. And I said, I think I'd just rather have some of that.
Yeah.
And then that was on. And so, I was still an adolescent, though. I was 16, 17 years old and using some pretty serious drugs, and didn't care about school, didn't have a lot of responsibilities, thought I was super hard because I listened to 3 6 Mafia.
Right.
And I was like, man.
That was prime time.
Yeah,
Juicy
prime
J
time.
era,
Lil
brother.
White.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is my life, and this is who I am. And I started becoming also miserable at the same time, scared. Am I stuck like this? Because in my head, forever, I was gonna wake up and just go to college one day, and
Yeah,
it would all be normal.
Well, the party would continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I kind of realized I'm spending a lot of time chasing that first year when this was fun, and try to recreate these scenarios and get the same people together, and the same drugs and the same thing on the TV, and we'll have that same experience again.
Thinking you're 14 again.
Yeah.
And I was just chasing it.
Well, the party was over.
The party was done.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people knew that, but me.
Yeah.
And so, real quickly, and then we'll jump into some recovery. When I was 17, I got, I was always at the verge of I could pass out at any time. Using a lot, extremely underweight. I had this girlfriend, and her mom kicked me out of her house, and this guy called me and was like, hey, you want to go pick up 1,000 ecstasy pills? And I was like, yeah, let's go do it. And I crashed my car driving to go to his house. At the top of his hill, I fell asleep, and my car rolled into a tree. And this woman came up who we used to sell joints to, that lived across from the guy. And she was like, look, I called the ambulance. I didn't know if you were okay. I'm sure you have drugs on you. Do you want me to put them in my house? And I was like, fuck off. No, they're not going to find anything. I call my mom, and I'm like, hey, I just wrecked my car. I think the police are coming. I'm probably going to need a ride home. Police and my mom show up at the same time. My sister is there too. And I remember the cop opens the door and he goes, this is fucking obvious. And I get arrested for DUI. I had 2 pounds of weed, digital scales, $20,000 in cash,
Wow.
500 Oxycontin.
You had all that in your car?
Yeah.
And you were like, I'm going to be fine?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Convinced.
Dude, the alcoholic ego. is
They ripped
unbelievable.
apart my car. My mom watched me get charged as an adult for the first time. I used to carry this Altoid box in my car. So if you were riding with me, I'd be polite and ask you if you want any of these pills that are in this box. And I thought, that's all they'll find. I'll take all of these.
Yeah.
Overdosed. Woke up 7 days later in butt naked next to two other butt naked dudes in Cobb County Jail in the infirmary, where my parents had just put their house up to bond me out of jail.
Wow. That's a big bond.
It was a big bond. I got in my parents' car and said, take me to go get high. And they said, we are taking you to treatment. And I said, I want to fucking die if I'm not getting high. And they had a thing of motor oil in the back of the car and a dog leash. And I was first started trying to choke myself out, and my dad grabbed the leash from me. Then I tried drinking the motor oil, and my parents grabbed that. And then I jumped out of the car. On the moving car, on the exit ramp on the highway. And I didn't have my shoelaces back in yet. And I just took off running after I hit the ground, the adrenaline.
How fast was the car going?
I don't know.
Probably 30.
Yeah. I mean,
Those are rookie numbers.
yeah, rookie. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I know we had a guy on here who jumped off going 60. Okay.
No, this
I'm
was
just messing with
63.
you.
And I called my girlfriend, and she called my parents and told her where I was, and they picked me up and they took me to treatment. And I was in treatment for 30 days in Tennessee, and I learned a lot. I mean, I really did. And I learned that, like, I didn't use like people my age, and I got put in an adolescent treatment center.
You're still like 17 now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm 17.
Right outside of Nashville?
Yeah.
I went to the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their adolescent program?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the first place I went to.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't the first place I went to, but it was like the first like real treatment I went to.
It was unbelievable. Yeah.
You know, I had this opportunity to stay in that area and transfer my court case and all this stuff, and I didn't. I went home. I stayed sober for 4 days, and I remember my friend asking me to help him move, and he offered me a beer, and I was like, nah. And then I just kept thinking about that beer that he offered me. And like 7 hours later, I was like, hey, I'll take that beer. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah, the beer you offered me a day ago. I'll have it now. And it was, and I remember craving, like, I want dope, like I want heroin. And I was like, this is that phenomenon of craving they talked to me about. Like, once I put it in my body, I'm going to want more. I got to make myself throw up. So I made myself puke thinking like, this will go away. And it didn't. And it was on. And within a month I was homeless again. And I was living in an abandoned, well, I say an abandoned apartment complex. It was a nicer, nobody lived in the apartment. It's a nice complex.
Yeah.
But I was facing all these charges. So then I had to go to court and take a drug test, failed. And they were like, you got to stay in jail till you can pass the drug test. Get out of jail. I'm 18 now. I've been sober like 10 days. And I'm miserable. And I go out with people that night and I stay sober, and like, I just start realizing like, I don't know who I am, or I don't have an identity outside of drugs. Like literally, I got nothing to talk about, nothing to offer people, no conversations to be had, no real friends, nobody trusts me. And like, I'm either going to go get high or kill myself. And I went and got high, and it continued for a long time. And I got put in drug court.
Homeless.
No, I'm living at home.
They let you come back home.
I had to live at home. I got put in drug court. I was on house arrest. I had Scram. I don't know if you know what Scram is, but it's an alcohol monitor that measures your alcohol every hour.
Okay.
Oh, is that the ankle? You put that on? Yeah. Okay.
I figured
Ankle
out you could
monitor.
put sandwich meat between your skin and the
Right.
monitor, and it wouldn't
And it
read.
wouldn't.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
And it vibrated every hour on the hour, which was quite annoying.
Guy's got corned beef in his socks all the time.
Yeah, ham worked better. It's,
Yeah.
it's thicker. Corned beef's too thin. I was just living this lie, pretending like to be sober and using a lot of OxyContin because they weren't testing for it. And just like at this point, I'm kind of terrified and miserable because I literally can't stop. I also have nothing to look forward to. Like, I'm not in college. I don't have a job. I'm in drug court. Like, all my friends that were my friends aren't my friends anymore. Like, I'm fucking miserable. And I'm in this drug court program, and finally they test me for OxyContin. It's like July. I'm wearing fucking long sleeves, and they're like, "You just failed a drug test. We're going to get the officer." And I bolted, and I called my mom, and I said, "Hey, I'm going on the run. Just so you know." She said, "Drop your car off at home and get out of here." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "All right, sweet." So July 5th, 2005, turned myself in. I wasn't on the run for that long. It was like 3 days. Turn myself in and say, look, they're like, look, you can go to treatment or you can go to prison. I said, I've gone to treatment 6 times.
They keep giving you the treatment option.
I was like, I'll go to prison.
Wow.
Yeah. I said, fuck it. Let's go to prison. I go to jail, sick as a dog. For years, I was convinced it was the spinach that I ate. And this guy came up to me. He was like, hey, you want to smoke a joint?
In jail?
In jail.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, I want to smoke a joint for sure. Smoke a joint. It was great. Hadn't smoked in a long time. And cried. Just like, what the fuck is going on?
What was your sentencing like?
I didn't know. I was going to have to go down the road.
Okay.
No, it hadn't been sentenced, but to get into drug court, you have to plead guilty.
Yeah.
So you've already
done that, though.
I pled guilty to go into drug court, but it's alternative sentencing. Once you complete a drug court, you're supposed to get your charges dropped.
Right.
So I tell him. And so there's this guy who works for drug court, and for some reason, hold on, I want to look at time. Are we good?
We're good on time, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so there's this guy who works for drug court, and Bruce calls my dad and says, look, your son's probably going to die. And he reminds me a lot of my son. If I were in your shoes, I would give him one more shot. And so I called my dad. I had this like epiphany in jail of like, I want to change.
You had the moment, yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, but like, I'm just realizing like I'm this white Jewish kid from East Cobb, and I may like 3 6 Mafia, but I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't me.
No.
And the mask is off, and like, I don't know what to do.
Terrified.
And my dad, called me a couple days later and said, we found you this treatment center. And we're not paying for any more treatment, and, that's where you're going to go. And I said, okay. And so I get out of jail. I'm in the Delta Sky Club with my parents, and I'm thinking like, I could drink right now, but I'm not. Like, it's not worth it. And we pull up the next day. Me and my dad stay in a hotel that night in Mississippi together. And the next day, he pulls me up to this treatment center, and he pulls me up to this treatment center, and I can tell like this isn't state run. I mean, it looks kind of fucking run down, but it's not a state run facility. And I said, Dad, I thought you weren't paying for any more treatment. And he said, Daniel, I wasn't going to, but when you die from this, I don't want to feel like I'm a failure as a father.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this one last time. And that did something to me where I kind of realized like, wow, this doesn't just impact me. Like, this guy's whole world has been interrupted, and he's shriveling up. Like, my dad's business was dwindling. My mom's business was dwindling. They wanted to retire, but now they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on treatment between me and my sister.
I mean, think about the effects on the marriage as a whole.
Yeah. And the
It's
fact that they're
insane.
still together.
Yeah.
And he takes me, and for the first time, I'm the 18-year-old in treatment, and everybody else, they're old in my mind. You know, there's doctors, there's lawyers, and in my head, I'm like, man, I can't imagine being 40, having a family, and dealing with this now.
Having to do
Right.
this. Yeah.
Like, wow, like that's way harder than this. And I had this realization of like, I can really start over. Like, I'm 18. Like I have the whole world like in front of me, but I still had those initial insecurities. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. People don't like me. I'm going to fail. It's just imposter syndrome, essentially. And I went in treatment, and I was really jealous of my cousin, I remember, because me and him went to treatment together, and he stayed sober. And I wrote this like letter out, and I read it to my therapist, this guy named Mark, who I'm still friends with today. And he's like, oh, sounds like a first step. And I was like, no, I don't think so. He's like, no, I think so. And I started praying and didn't really know what I was praying for or to, but I saw this guy next to me, and because there's 6 guys in a room, like getting on his knees every day and praying and getting on his knees at night. And I was like, I'm going to do that. I don't know what it means, but like, I know I need to take action somewhere, and I'll start getting on my knees and praying too. And this was back in the day treatment. I mean, this wasn't treatment where they're like talking about building you up. Like, this was like, we're going to break you down
I remember it well.
and then build you up.
I truly believe it. That's the way it should be.
I stayed sober for my first year in spite of everybody telling me that I was going to die.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I was like, no, I'm
I'm gonna show you different.
I'm going to
Yeah.
show you differently.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, they started taking us to meetings. Well, I'll tell you this, because it's important about the order of the steps and those sort of things. Like, I had a lot of guilt that I wanted to get off my chest of robbing my parents, stealing, making them think it was somebody else. And I decided, like, day 4 into treatment, to call my mom and be like, hey, I did this, this, and that. And she was like, yeah, you're a piece of shit. Don't call us again. And so I didn't have a good relationship with my parents for like 2 years. They talked to me. My dad wrote me letters like I was a business associate.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
was
wow.
quite
Yeah.
resentful, but he didn't. I mean, that was his right. They had done all the things they were asked to do. I had
And then
not.
some.
Yeah. And I had not. And so I really dove into the community. And I asked this guy, Eddie J, to sponsor me. I asked Eddie J to sponsor me because Eddie drove an Audi, and they told me to pick somebody who
You had
ha-
the yeah.
yeah, that I wanted what they had. And
Yeah.
I wanted an Audi.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't talking about physical stuff.
Now I know.
Yeah, right.
I remember feeling the same way.
But I liked Eddie. I liked what he had to say. And the next day, this guy in treatment, Murray, brought me this list of 12 things to do every day. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like,
That's work, man.
That seems like a lot.
that's a lot. And so Eddie, it said, call Eddie at 6:15. So I call Eddie at 6:15 and I say, hey, Eddie, you know, just really appreciate you being willing to do this, but, you know, it's really apparent to me that I'm a drug addict and you're an alcoholic, and I should probably work a different program. And he goes, you see where it says to call me at 6:15 every day? And I said, yeah. He goes, call me at 6:15 tomorrow. I said, okay, Eddie, I guess you didn't hear what I said. So the next day,
You tried to break up with him.
I
You shut
call
you right
Eddie
down.
at 6:20. He picks up the phone. Is your fucking clock broken? And hung up on me. And Eddie became my sponsor because
That's great.
he demanded it. And I started doing those 12 things every single day, which I, for the most part, still do those 12 things every single day because they became just part of my life.
Yeah.
So Eddie was really key on like, hey, you got to stop hanging out with people from treatment because like all these people are probably going to go get high. And I need you to chair this 9:30 at night meeting. And I was like, yeah, but that's when my friends go out to dinner on Friday nights. And he's like, yeah, I don't give a shit. You're chairing this meeting. All those people are probably going to go get high. Watch. And, you know, unfortunately, Eddie was right. And I got really involved in AA, working the steps, going through them, started, I went back and finished high school.
Nice.
Still felt like an idiot. Enrolled in college, and my parents started talking to me again. I remember my mom coming to visit me and being like, "Your apartment's a shithole." It wasn't a shithole. I just didn't really have furniture.
Yeah.
And she was like, "We're going to get you furniture." And our relationship started building when she was,
How sober were you at that point?
I probably had a little over like a year.
Nice.
Because at 18 months sober, I had to get rotator cuff surgery.
Okay.
And my mom came and stayed with me. And like we really started our relationship. But they didn't start giving me like money until they saw that like I was in school, and like they started helping me like pay rent and things along those lines. But I enrolled in community college. My sponsor was like, "Hey, if you want to not feel like a drug addict and like not feel that stigma, go get educated. Like go out there and compete in the world, because you didn't get sober to be a barista at Starbucks or to work in a warehouse the rest of your life." Like,
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
no,
But you
but he's
may
like,
have been destined for better.
he was like,
Different things.
you got sober to go live out your dreams and build dreams. And all I'd ever done was really work in warehouses, and my immediate thought was like, I'll just go work in treatment. I'll never leave this safe space. And he's like, and you can't work in treatment.
Oh,
Like it's not allowed. You can't just hide out in treatment for the rest of your life. And I was like, okay, noted. And so I went to college, and I met this teacher there. And, when you're in early sobriety and somebody asks you, and this is when you had to like enroll in person, they ask you, "Why have you been to so many high schools?" Well, I decided to take her hostage and tell her my entire story. And she decided to tutor me for a couple of years. And I ended up getting a full ride scholarship to the University of Southern Mississippi for academics. And I transferred down to Southern Miss. And I'll never forget when I pulled up to my apartment at Southern Miss, there was all these dudes from AA waiting for me. Because they knew I was coming, and I had met them at conferences, and like, I was connected. And so I immediately had this like group of people that I was associated with, and
God, I love that so much.
and friends.
Yeah.
And started going to school at Southern Miss, and man, my world got rocked. I got a call. I'd been like 3 years sober. I got a call from my mom, and they were on a cruise celebrating their like 40th anniversary or something like that, or 35th, I don't know. And it was weird that they were calling, and I like had this sense of why they were calling me. And my mom said, "Mandy died. Your sister's passed away. Like, we're stuck on this cruise. Like, we don't know how we're getting home, but like we have a funeral in 5 days, and we're going to make our way back. We're in Greece." And I was like, what the fuck? Like, and I always had this reservation.
Was
Like,
your relationship with your sister strong throughout you getting sober?
yeah, and I had helped her try to get sober, but we started creating some distance because our lifestyles had become so much different. But I had
Yeah.
helped her get in treatment. We were still really close, and we still talk. But it got to that point where she'd call me so fucked up, where it's like you can't even have a conversation.
Yeah.
And so there was some distance between us, but she overdosed and died. Thanks. And I always had this reservation that was like, if something happens to her, I'm probably going to get high. And I've never had like, I would say like a super strong, like what I would call like relationship with a higher power. I've believed, I've trusted, I've put my faith there, and something took over where I knew what to do. Called my sponsor, drove an hour and a half to Jackson to my original home group and hung out with people.
Yeah.
Got back to where I was going to school, and people from AA were there for my original home group, like just helping me. Landed in Atlanta. People from AA in Atlanta were there to pick me up. And it was just like that power of that community that I had built. And it kind of just rocked my world. You know, it broke my parents. It broke me in a lot of ways. And at the time, I felt I didn't really have the ability to grieve. You know, I had the ability to make the situation about me and like my safety and my security. And like, I felt at that time, my parents had never seen Daniel as a sober young man, or spent time with him. And it's time to step up and show them and show people why you got sober and be there for others. And while I did that, I took away my ability to grieve and kind of just moved through it. And I think lost some sort of connection with myself during that time of my mind and my body feeling connected to one another, for years. And I ended up moving back to Atlanta, just because it was, you know, stressful on my family and they were constantly worried something would happen to me. And I was like, I'm just going to move back. You know, while it was a tragedy, I kind of look at it in a couple ways. The big book says, you know, pretty much anybody can get sober unless they're constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves or others. And my sister was like incapable of being honest with herself or others. And she lived a really hard life. And I don't want to say she's better off, but she was in so much pain that I'm glad she's not in that pain anymore.
She couldn't be more than about 30, right?
When she died?
Yeah.
26.
Oh.
Yeah, I was 21. So I moved back to Atlanta. I got, you know, stayed involved in my recovery. Really wanted to finish school. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And I started...
you dropped the scholarship at Southern Miss.
Dropped the scholarship at Southern Miss. And I went to... I got accepted to basically any school I applied to in Georgia just because I had good grades, and UGA accepted me and I was interested in going there, but they weren't accepting some of my classes. So I went and talked to them, blah, blah, blah. After that, I went to lunch in Athens, Georgia, and ran into a bunch of people from high school that like didn't know the new me. And like, they thought I was the old me. And basically I was like, I can't go to school here. This isn't a good environment.
Right.
Like, you know, and I shared about it that night in a meeting, and this guy was like, hey, we're trying to create this thing at our school for students who are in recovery to have like almost like a sober fraternity based on like the model at like Texas Tech or Rutgers.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm not interested in that at all. Like, rehab on campus, sweet. I've been sober 5 years. Like, I'm just trying to finish school.
Yeah.
I ended up meeting the lady who's running the program. Love her. Join the program as the third student, really helped build it, but they used me to speak all over the country, and share my story about what it's like being a college student in recovery that has support, and what it's like on campus being a student in recovery where you don't have support. And I ended up speaking at all these conferences, to the U.S. Board of Education, just being put in situations where if I wasn't in recovery would have never happened. And mind you, during all of this, I was still on probation from
the guns and the weed.
From crashing my
No,
car into
from
a
the
tree.
crashing
Oh,
in the
that's
car.
right. Yeah.
My
And getting
apologies.
charged as an adult.
Right.
I get a call and the DA was like, hey, we're going to charge you for your DUI still. So
This is years later.
it's years later, like 5 years later, but it's still like an ongoing case. So when I was in Mississippi, I enrolled in a drug court there, and I became very involved in helping the other participants, leading big book studies, starting college. Like, they watched my life transform. I show up in the courtroom to settle my case. I walk in, the judge from Mississippi, the probation officer from Mississippi, and the guy who ran the drug court in Mississippi are there to speak on my behalf.
Nice.
Wow.
And all my charges get dropped.
Nice.
How about that?
All of them.
Yeah.
And I have a clean slate, 4 or 5 years into sobriety. But Homeland Security still knows about it because I found out you can't tell them you haven't been arrested because they know.
They already know,
when I applied for TSA pre-check.
Yeah, they knew about it.
They're like, so you didn't
gave
get
it to you
arrested
still.
January 2nd, 2004? I was like, oh, that time?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to know
You're not-
about that.
That was expunged.
Yeah, you're
Right.
they're like, we're
They're
Homeland
saying
Security.
nothing's expunged
Yeah.
to us. Yeah.
So, you know, I get real involved in that program at school. I'm speaking all over. I'm working at CNN in college in their strategic marketing department, learning about design, billboards, media. I'm majoring in marketing and professional sales. Super involved in my recovery. And I get a call one day. I've got a good relationship with my parents, got a dog, got a girlfriend, like competing in the classroom. I'm at the top of my class. Like I scored highest in the entire university on some exit exam. And like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can get a job. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I can compete. Like
Turns out Daniel is smart.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
proud of myself and I still have all these same insecurities and they can either control me or I can adapt and live with them and let them go and figure out like, oh, this is just part of you. And that's never left. But I got a call from a friend, which is crazy, which was the same guy who worked at the treatment center that brought me the list from Eddie, called me and said, hey, aren't you getting a degree in marketing? And I said, yeah. He goes, you want a job after like you finish? Because we need a marketing person. And he worked for this treatment center that specialized in treating college students in Texas. And I said, what, do you need somebody to do your billboards or something? Because I didn't know treatment centers had like marketing people.
Right,
I
of
thought,
course.
I thought your parents just called a friend who knew
Right.
somebody that went to rehab, and that's how you
Yeah,
ended up in
that's
the
how you got
place.
there,
Right.
Yeah.
So I moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay.
I take this job. I remember in my interview, the owner's like, what would you tell a doctor who needed to send patients to treatment? And I was like, I think I would tell the doctor, like, you know, this is a deadly disease. And if people don't get help, they're probably going to die. And he was like, that'll work.
You're hired.
Yeah. He's like, that'll work. And I was like, okay, great. And
What year was this?
this was where was I?
What year?
This was 2009 or 10.
Okay.
And so I'm like, great. So I moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I start working in treatment, working for a treatment center, doing business development, learning, learning the space and realizing like, hey, my recovery story, I might need more skills in this. Got trained as an interventionist in 2011 and 2012. Got certified. Started learning how to communicate better with families and, you know, therapists to move the speed of which they want people to go to treatment. And became pretty successful in my role there, but really wanted to get back to Atlanta. Like, you know, it's where I had started building my foundation. It's where my family was. I had really built a strong relationship with the recovery community and my family in Atlanta. And this treatment center in Georgia was like, hey, you want to come work for us? And I was like, yeah, I do. Because it was the easy way. I was like, I'll do great because the facility's in Georgia. I can't work for a Texas facility in Georgia. And then my boss was like, hey, if you want to actually figure out if you're decent at what you do, you should stay with us. And I was like, that's like reverse manipulation. But
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to figure that out. And spent 6 years with that company. And during those 6 years, the company got bought out and I got to grow with another organization for about, 10, 15 years. And it was great. But on the home front, I met a woman, who was also in recovery, who I got to meet through work because she was a therapist.
You married a therapist?
Yeah.
God
so I started
bless.
taking her
Yeah.
to extra lunches,
Yeah.
like, hey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And her and I hit it off. And what's crazy about that is like our families knew each other.
No way.
Like the first time her mom ever flew on an airplane was with my grandparents.
Wow.
And we had never known each other. And so me and her hit it off. We got engaged, got a house together, or she moved into my house, got a dog. my life just started like all the, the promises had been coming true. But if I look back today, in 2017, we had our first kid, Matthew, 8 years old. And my world changed. It's like all of a sudden, it's not just about me anymore. And it's not just about my wife. It's about this boy, and showing up and being there for him, and being that dad, and also knowing like what I've gone through, like what I can help protect from, and what I can be real about. A couple of years later, we had another son, Eli. So at home, we've got an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Talk about a power greater than yourself, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2 dogs, house, happy marriage. My wife's my best friend. And I would have never imagined any of those things. Like sometimes I'm driving down the road and I think, I think like, I wish my 13, 14-year-old self could see me now.
I think about that all the time.
And like,
Me too.
And
I
like,
think about that all the time.
who I turned out to be and what I would say to myself. And like, I'm so grateful that I went through everything I went through and experienced the pain, the loss, the turmoil, the lies, because it gave me the character and the ability to live authentically with like who I am today. And I think the cool part about, at least for me, for recovery, is like, it evolves so much. Like, and for me, my addictions, like they're whatever make me feel not like me in the moment. So whether that's scrolling on something for too long, whether that's obsessing over a new hobby. I have a friend who does a lot of that. And whether it's obsessing over a new hobby, a TV show, gambling, like anything that gets that going, like it's really easy for me to check out, and not be able to connect my mind with my body like I was talking about. And I think over the last year, I've been able to do an incredible amount of work on myself. I had walking through fear is something really challenging. And I think for me, early in recovery, the fear line always got thrown at me as like, fear is, it's a corroding thread and, it steals opportunity. And if you may miss out on a lot of chances if you don't walk through something just solely because of fear. And for me, I was going through a lot in the last year where like, I wasn't really happy at my job anymore. And I was terrified to leave. I was terrified to do something different. I was terrified, like, what if I fail at the next thing?
Well, what if this was all a ruse? And I'm not what they say I am?
What if I'm not really good at what I do?
What if
Somebody,
it's the company
it's like you
and
get
it's
caught.
not me?
Yeah. What if I get caught? And then I kind of had a couple of realizations, like, if I'm not good at what I've done or do, well, I'm really good at faking it, and I can probably keep it up another 20 years.
There you go, dude.
That's the
Because
spirit.
I can talk the talk.
Yeah. Nice.
And I want to be happy. I want to wake up and be thrilled about what it is that I'm doing, 16 days out of the month at least.
Correct.
Doesn't have to be every day.
No.
But I want
51% of the time.
I want to be excited. I want to do something where I feel like I'm impacting people, whether that's patients or my staff. And, I just want to do something that brings me more peace and allows me to participate in all the things that I got sober for: my family, my relationships, my peace, my serenity. And I kind of woke up one day and I was like, I don't feel connected to my family. I don't feel connected to my wife.
They all hate me. They hate my phone.
Yeah, they don't know how it's like I'm an addict coming home, and like they don't know how I'm gonna be depending on what how work was, and like I need a break. Like I need to find some time to connect with myself. And 20 years of sobriety, I decided like, hey, I'm gonna go send myself to a retreat and work on me, because there's something going on still from when my sister died where I want to connect and not make decisions based on rash thoughts or things like that, but how things are making me feel the next day or the next day, not in the moment when I'm feeling it, but I want to learn how to sit better in discomfort. I want to learn how to not let my emotions, like, or what I think I'm emotional about, control my decision making and thinking. And so, what do? I go work on myself.
Yeah. Well, you align your will with God's.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so I had the opportunity to not work for 8 months and just reconnect with my family, reconnect with myself, my friends, my relationships, and hold those boundaries so that I can be all the things that I want to be and all the things that I strive to be. But without sobriety, I mean, I can't do any of that stuff.
I have the utmost respect for that kind of blind faith and like compartmentalizing your values to seeing that this is what matters.
Well, it's funny.
And this is finite, you know?
Yeah, it's funny that you say values because that's really where it all started for me. It was like, I need to do something where my personal and professional values are the same.
Aligned, yeah.
Where they completely align and they're the same priority of values. And what I realized is like I could say these values, but I don't think I was living them anymore.
Yeah.
And I needed a reset. And for me, the greatest thing I ever did.
Yeah.
But man, I think that's really wraps up what I got.
That was outstanding.
That's a great story.
I really appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing all that with us.
That was a lot. That was really cool.
Another one, I'm just like speechless, just sitting here, just, you know. Yeah.
Especially doing that as everything took place between like the ages of 8 and 20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Our stories are very similar in some respects, which I love resonating with. Yeah.
Yeah, mine too. Considering I got clean at 20.
Yeah.
Just before I turned 21.
It's so, it's so strange that like, I got to experience all of college sober. My 21st birthday, Vegas, sober.
Wow.
Like,
why?
That's what my parents wanted to do.
Nice.
But it's like, I've got to experience just all the things, like those belly laughs where you're sitting there and you're like, I've never laughed like this in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sober.
Yeah.
Right. You experience new stuff.
Like, I think I'm having a brain aneurysm. I'm laughing so
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm okay. And I'm sober.
Yeah.
And like learning the fun, the laughter, all of those things that you're afraid you're never going to experience. And maybe you haven't experienced it authentically.
Right.
They just start happening.
Right. That was cool. We appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you coming up here to see us, brother.
Yeah.
Definitely. You traveled a little bit to get here, and we really, really appreciate it. But everybody, you've been listening to Tenacious Recovery, the podcast. You got to be tenacious about your recovery if you want to stay sober. And we really enjoyed having Daniel. My name is Vinny. I'm an alcoholic.
I'm Sam. I'm an alcoholic.
Daniel, I'm an alcoholic.
My man. And God willing, we'll see you all soon.